In today's video, I'm going to cover the whole entire market in terms of Dow Jones, Nasdaq, and S&P 500, including the economic calendar. Now, I do post these videos daily, so I highly encourage you to double check the latest video on my channel, so that way you get the most up-to-date information. And before I get to the technical analysis portion, I'm going to go over the economic calendar. And for Monday, August 19th, 2024, at 9:15 a.m., we have Fed Governor Christopher Waller welcoming remarks. At 10 a.m., we have U.S. leading economic indicators. Mind you, this week, we do have some important stuff coming up. For example, we have the FOMC meeting minutes coming out at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. We have Jerome Powell's speech at Jackson Hole Retreat on Friday. So some couple good touch points to go over for the week, but I'll keep you guys posted day by day. Now for the economic calendar, for the most part, based off the MACD lines, just in case you're new to the channel, indicate if we're in a bearish or bullish momentum movement. And for the shorter term, it looks like we potentially could have a pullback for the Dow Jones, Nasdaq, and S&P. But the problem is, in my opinion, it's a little bit not contradicting, but the Nvidia stock is a mega cap stock, and the momentum is to the upside. Mind you, I did check Nvidia MACD lines as well, and it is kind of showing a downside pull potentially for Monday as well. And I checked Tesla as well, and potentially that one's a 50-50 split. That is a mega cap stock too. The thing is though, with anticipation for earnings coming up in the next 2 weeks for Nvidia stock, and it's expected to be a B and it's a mega cap stock, I almost want to disregard the MACD lines, because if the momentum is so high that it ends up retracting to the upside regardless, and then it could pull the market to the upside, disregarding the MACD lines. But at the same time, all of them are indicating downside. Plus, if you look at S&P 500 and Nasdaq, they're at a perfect level to get at a pullback. So I'm going to go over the S&P first, or actually I'll go over the Nasdaq first, and then I'll go to the S&P and so on and so forth. So if I look at QQQ, which is an ETF for Nasdaq, so just same thing, just different ratio, it's actually at a top point right now. Plus the MACD lines for the 1 month, 3 month, 6 month are showing downside. Mind you, overall, past a certain short period time frame, it is expected to go to the upside. But the problem is the short term, like I stated, with Nvidia stock as well showing short term, there's a potential pullback. And more specifically for Nvidia and Tesla, I should state, is Nvidia and Tesla past a certain level where it technically should go up to the upside continuously because it passed a resistance level. But the problem is it could be a false breakout and then get pulled down. The only reason why I wouldn't expect that to be the case is for Nvidia specifically, is because for Nvidia, we have earnings coming up. And again, the market is expecting a beat. So I'm expecting this pullback to be potentially a false pullback and then reverse back up to the upside. Same thing with the markets. The downside, I think it's going to be short-lived. I don't expect the downside to be that dramatic at all. Just going to be short-lived and then go back up to the upside. But we'll cover it still. Mind you, closed at $475.03 for QQQ. Again, ETF for Nasdaq, just different ratio, and it reached an upper limit for the most part. Horizontally, there's a resistance within the same zone, and then acted as support multiple times. So support and resistance. And the question is, can we go higher? Can we go lower? Obviously, we can in both directions. But the levels that I'm looking at, first, the downside, because I think most likely that could be the case for Monday. You could expect potential support at the moving average zone, which horizontally is where it crossed over an upward trend resistance line dating back since 2010. I'll show that momentarily. But that level is looking at roughly about $468 and some change. Again, that's $468 and some change. We did close at $475, so that would be a decent drop. Then you'll be looking at a support potentially at horizontally where we saw resistance and support, roughly about the $465 and some change. And then the next level, which hits pretty much the moving average as well, we're looking at support about the $460 and some change, give or take. Now, to show you the upward trend resistance level dating back since 2010, like I mentioned earlier, this upward trend resistance line dating back since 2010. Mind you, the market was still going up for Nasdaq. It's just it was stuck underneath it, broke through since 2020 to 2022, and then when we got back underneath it, we couldn't pass it in sometime in March of 2024. And then we did pass it recently, but came back underneath it. So this is the line. It might be difficult because I have way too much lines. I might have to start deleting them soon. But this is the line right about here. And you can see we did pass through it and then went back underneath it. And the question is, are we going to pass it? So if you think it's going to go to the upside for Monday, which is possible, because again, the market is expecting a rate cut in September from the Fed in terms of 25 to 50 basis points. So that could be a catalyst. But again, this week we have FOMC meeting minutes coming out. So we'll see what that could entail. But we have Nvidia stock as well reporting earnings. So that could be a momentum to the upside. So could disregard the downside MACD lines for Monday. We'll see. But if you are expecting to go to the upside, I'm expecting, first, technically you could argue $478 and some change will cause some issues to go to the upside, but this is Nasdaq and it does move quite a bit to the upside dramatically, I would say, in my opinion. So you're looking at potentially meeting this upward trend resistance line as causing potential issues resistance, which is about $482, $483 and some change, give or take, within that zone. Then if you're very optimistic that it's going to pass that zone, then you're looking at the next resistance level, about $487 and some change. I personally don't think it's going to go higher than that. Best case scenario, between 487 to 488 and some change, just because of this false breakout right about here. So I'm basing this resistance level right about here causing potential issue as resistance. And because the MACD lines are pointing more to the downside, I don't think the momentum will be that high. Mind you, again, we have an upward trend resistance line dating back to 2010. So in my opinion, that would cause a decent amount of issues to the upside. Now for S&P 500, I'm going to be looking at ETF SPY, which is the exact same thing, just different ratio. And I don't have it drawn out here, but it's the exact same thing as the Nasdaq, where it reached an upper limit. Mind you, closed at $554.31. So essentially the same thing. Around horizontally around here, you see resistance and support bounce offs as well a little bit. And the question is it going to get pulled back down or go to the upside? Now, in my opinion, again, based off the MACD lines, there's a potential pull down, again, because NVIDIA is showing a pull down as well based off MACD lines, regardless of earnings coming up and expectations for the upside. There is a chance for the pull down. So if that is the case, then you're potentially could be looking at support at the 550 and some change. You can see the drop right about here, 550 plus horizontally. There was resistance around that price point. So 550 and some change. Then the next level you're looking at is 548 and some change. That's based off the moving average plus horizontally in terms of support and resistance as well. And then the next level you're looking at is 545 and some change. But I would argue if it were to drop down, I think it would drop down pretty drastically to the downside, breaking through this level of 545 and some change. It might cause some issues, but I think essentially it would go to the 542 and some change. But I should say that would probably be a 2-day trading day. So that would be caused by 2 down days, in my opinion. Most likely what probably will happen is the 548 or 550 will hold up, because the S&P doesn't move that fast versus the Nasdaq. But 550 and some change, 548 and some change. If we have 2-day down days in a row, then you'd have somewhat of a stop at 545 and some change, and ultimately getting down to the 543, 542 and some change. And then if you think all is doom and gloom, then you could potentially look at the moving average as support at the 541 and some change, and then this horizontal support level around the 538 some change, and then to this moving average at 535 and some change. Again, I don't expect it to be going down lower, so that's why I'm not covering the lower levels, but I'll keep you guys posted day by day. Now for the Dow Jones, essentially same thing for the MACD lines, except it's a little bit different. We have an upward trend resistance line dating back since 2021, an upward trend support level, which is irrelevant for this video because I don't think we're going to see it, but dating back since April of 2024. Now we closed at 40,659 points, give or take. And the question is, what's the next movement? In my opinion, again, because based off of lower levels, we could potentially see support at the 40,440 points, give or take, based off the upward trend resistance level / could act as support, as we see in, for example, right about here around this price point, but arguably could have been a moving average. Plus, right about here, there was a bounce too. But if you most likely it would go lower, to be honest. So you would be looking at potentially at the support showing off the moving average of 40,075 points. By the time we get there, you'd be looking at 40,000. And if it's a drastic drop, then you'd be looking at 39,830 points, give or take, but most likely 39,800 points clean, which pretty much coincides with this drop right about here, give or take. And then there is support along the line. So there's support right about here, support right about here, and then I believe there was a support right about here around the 39,800 points. Again, I think most likely the 40,000 will hold clean, but if that's not the case, then you're looking at 39,800, give or take. But that's basically it for today's video. If you found it beneficial and liked it, consider dropping a like. It does help out the channel, so thank you so much for that. I do appreciate it. And I do post these videos daily, so if you want to be notified when I do upload the next video, consider subscribing because you'll be notified when I upload my next video and following. And that's basically it. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. Take care. God bless and peace.